I've had a bunch of people ask us how we got into aviation. Can I answer that?
I think they're more asking about you, but yeah, I can,
Well, how does a native Alaskan decide to be an air traffic controller?
through the University of Alaska. I actually, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for school, I went in there and I thought I wanted to be a pilot, and the counselor at the university was like, well, you can go to school for 4 years and start out making this much money as a pilot, or you can go to school for 2 years and get a degree in air traffic and start out making this much money. And it was like twice as much. I was like, I'll do that. But it just so happened that the University of Alaska had a really good program for that. They had a whole like aviation technical institute type thing going on up there, and there weren't very many schools for that back then. They started popping up all over the place shortly after that, but back then there was only like,
contact Chicago Approach
I don't know, 5 of them. There was like University of Alaska, Beaver, Purdue,
Embry-Riddle, cross 10 miles,
and I think I'm forgetting one, but anyway, it just worked out that way. I remembered after she like mentioned it, and I remembered going on a field trip when I was young to the tower and the Dracon and Anchorage, and thinking that it was so cool, and then I kind of forgot all about it. And then once I started getting into it, I loved it. You couldn't get me out of it. And then after that, you got to go to the academy for a couple months, and they kind of send you wherever they want to send you. They sent me to Tampa, and Tampa's what we call an up-down. It had the tower and the approach. So I did both, which is really cool. And then after 6 years in Tampa, I went to work some more air traffic. That's my story.
Nice. That's a good story, babe.
Kevin went a different route. He went military.
I'm glad it worked out for you.
Yeah.
So for me, I was, my dad was a pilot, and a few of my uncles were pilots. So growing up, my dad was an Army helicopter pilot, but had also had his fixed-wing airplane ratings. And before I was born, he had a Cessna Skyhawk, a 4-seat 172. But then growing up, he wasn't really active in general aviation, but he was a pilot the whole time. So I always heard pilot stories and got to go see him flying around at different events and stuff as when he was a military pilot. And then I had 2 more uncles. Another one was an Army fixed-wing pilot, which there's not a lot of those. And then another uncle who was an F-15E fighter pilot who went to the first Gulf War and had some really cool video and stories coming back from that. So a lot of aviation was in the family, and I didn't really get active in general aviation. I graduated high school and went to the University of Georgia.
9223 to set maintain 11,000.
And my dad bought another Skyhawk. So I flew around with him a couple times and got really interested in it. And at the University of Georgia.
3 Bravo, Chicago Center. Set maintain 10,000, 10,000. Air altimeter 2990.
There's Athens Airport, and I went to Athens.
Number 613 Bravo.
Enrolled in the flight program.
Set maintain 10,000. Air altimeter 2990.
So I was 18 years old, going to school at the University of Georgia.
And Air Wisconsin 816 Alpha, Chicago Center, Imperial altimeter 2990.
And just fell in love with flying. As soon as it's so freeing, as soon as you got up in the air,
maintain 300 knots, contact Chicago.
it was instant hooked. So then I was flying so much.
3680, contact Chicago approach 119.35.
That semester was over. My parents had moved to Atlanta, and my dad had his plane in Peachtree City, Falcon Field on the south side of Atlanta.
119.35.
At that point, he was working for Delta Airlines. So I transferred schools to West Georgia so that I could finish up ratings, fly at home and stuff. So I got right through. As soon as I got the private done, I did my instrument rating. As soon as that got done, I worked on my multi-engine and commercial, and was flying a Seneca 1. Just not my favorite.
69, you clear direct ND, descend via the ND.
Not my favorite airplane.
31 center transition.
doesn't really have good single engine performance or twin engine performance for that matter. But at any rate, and then I got my commercial multi-single add-on and got my flight instructor. So I started flight instructing at 19.
Wisconsin 816 Alpha Chicago, you on?
And was building up time.
Your altimeter is 3001.
Got on with an aerial mapping company flying a Cessna 401, so I got to fly a twin engine airplane, which was great.
Direct Newark.
Got a bunch of twin time, fell in love with twin Cessnas.
816 Alpha, descend to maintain
Got a text message
10,000.
from my mom.
Number 613 Bravo Alpha Chicago Center, the O'Hare 2990.
I had an interview scheduled, finally got my times with Atlantic Southeast Airlines, was getting ready to go that path, and
Number 613 Bravo
9/11 happened.
Roger, house 2990.
I was kind of thinking about making the switch over to air traffic anyway, because I wasn't sure that I enjoyed living out of a suitcase and all.
Number 771 Bravo Charlie, contact Champaign approach 121.35.
1 Bravo Charlie Champaign on 121.35, good day.
Southwest 269, contact.
Champaign approach Twin Cessna 771 Bravo Charlie's with you VFR 7500.
Twin Cessna 771 Bravo Charlie Champaign approach altimeter 3000, good morning.
3000, good morning.
Wow, climbing up there.
Yeah, that's
3000.
totally off.
So there was some friends of the family that were controllers at Atlanta Approach that had went the military route, because there was, like she was saying, there wasn't a lot of schools back then to go learn air traffic. And my dad was military, and grandfather and uncles and stuff, so I thought that was a good way to do it. So I joined the Air Force, did air traffic control, and got out, did some air traffic, and did 4 years in the Air Force in Florida. Went to Phoenix, did ATC there for a bit, then came to Chicago and worked in the tower at O'Hare for a while, and then went out to the approach control.
Well, you didn't spend 4 years in the Air Force in Florida. You were like all over the place. Well, back and forth anyway, from out to Kirkuk.
Yeah, well, I started in basic at San Antonio, Texas, and then they teach you air traffic in Biloxi, Mississippi at Keesler. And then my base assigned place was at Eglin in Destin, Florida, and I got a 6-month vacation to Kirkuk, Iraq. Then came back and got out. 3 hours from Dothan. Then some of the other questions that we get.
Line 44 kilo at 1,500, climbing 3,000.
Are
4 kilo Champaign departure, radar contact via process your discretion.
outside air temperatures climbing today, we're up to 51 degrees now.
VFR altitude by discretion, line 44 kilo.
Some of the other questions we get is why the 310? So it started with flying the aerial mapping company where I had a lot of twin Cessna time in a 401, and I always liked them. A 310 was always my dream plane. We got back into flying, and we were renting airplanes, Skyhawks, and then we rented a Saratoga, and we were taking trips. We'd go all the way down to Georgia back in a day in a Skyhawk. We did that once for a family reunion, and it took forever. So
At least that one had an autopilot though.
yeah, we wanted a plane that would cruise at
This one has an autopilot too.
160, 170 plus knots.
We talked a lot about a Mooney.
Yeah,
but
I was really fond of a
voted
Mooney
twin
Ovation and a twin of some sort. And so we talked back and forth. We flew a turbo Saratoga, which was nice. It's one of the newest airplanes I've ever flown. It was like a 2000 and something. But it was so heavy. It had air conditioning and oxygen, and by the time you put 6 people in that plane, even with little bitty kids, you had to take so much gas off that plane for weight that you couldn't go anywhere. So we wanted to not have to deal with that. So we were looking at, then we kind of decided to, okay, the Mooney, single engine, night, IFR, over water. We thought if we could swing a twin, we should give it a shot to avoid some of those issues. Not that there's anything wrong with singles, just personally, having two engines, if you're up at cruise and you lose one, gives you more options. So we were looking between a Baron.
Well, there's just a lot more space in here too. I mean, if we were like, we've had the kids in here, and you guys have seen the videos with like friends and Matt and the kids and stuff, and like you just can't like cram that many people and like that much stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Into a Mooney.
We never really run into weight problems with this plane.
Charlie, contact Kansas City Center 124.3.
That was a big deal for us.
4.3 for 6 Delta Charlie.
Winds are changing a bit. Turn 2 degrees right. So when comparing a few things between a Baron and a 310, which are the two most similar airplanes, same engines and same essential, close on the speeds and the useful loads and the ranges and things like that. The 310 has the big tip tanks at the end, which some people don't like. I kind of like them. I think they look kind of cool. And the design of them is to shear off if you have to put it down off airport somewhere. And there's a video where you can watch of a 310 over in Orange County at John Wayne Airport, and they ended up putting it down on whatever that freeway is, the 405 or whatever. And you can see one of the tip tanks shears off.
Out of service, plus Charlie services not
and it takes all that gas away from the airplane. So the idea behind that is pretty cool. So a lot of these airplanes will have more gas than the Baron. Like this one has 163 gallons, which I think the Barons are closer to 130, although they do have some Oxtanks options and such. And the single engine climb performance is a little better on a 310, and the max altitude you can maintain on one engine is a little better on a 310. And then the fuel flows are pretty similar, and the max gross weights are pretty similar. It really depends on loadout at that particular point, but some of the Barons I was looking at, this had a little bit better, although the speed, fuel burn, and loading is pretty much negligible, it seems to me, with the 310 having the slight advantage in some of those areas. What was the other thing I was going to say about 310? Oh, the throttle quadrant. So on the newer Barons, which are very expensive, they have the throttles like this. They're down lower, and you have the normal relationship where your throttle's on the left side, the props are in the middle, and the mixtures are on the right. But in the Barons from about the same age as this aircraft here, I'm just trying to fine-tune some of the engine settings while I'm talking. But I'll have to tighten up the friction lock. We've been vibrating down a little. The Barons have this T inside, and they have the throttle quadrants up higher, and they have the throttle in the middle, the props on the left, and the mixture on the right, which is a little different than most other airplanes. So, and that's kind of an OCD thing. You would learn it, you'd be perfectly comfortable with it after a couple hours, and it honestly provides no issue. But those were some of my thought processes. And we wanted de-ice. I wanted the short nose, so I wanted a Q model with the IO 470 engines, and we wanted de-ice. So some people have asked if these two little whisker looking things, that's where the alcohol comes out for the windshield to de-ice that. And then we have boots on the wings and the tail that blow up and shed the ice off. And then the propellers are heated. So being in the Midwest, we wanted an emergency get out of ice plane, not to be flying around in no icing, but just to have an escape path. So we looked around and we found this airplane. We liked it, had a pre-purchase inspection done on it, made an offer, closed out the offer, and we've had it for going on almost 2 years, a little over a year and a half now.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of talking.
Gotta give people what they want, babe. The people want to know.
Yeah, you guys ask questions on there, and I try to answer as much as I can, but early on, I was able to keep up with it more as the channel grows. It's a little bit harder, but we still read them all, and I will try to get to most of them. so just be patient if you ask something. You know, we are paying attention, we're reading and paying attention to all that. Thank you guys very much for the support on the channel. It has grown. You guys are seem to enjoy it far more than, you know, I had hoped. It has grown bigger than we had planned. So thank you guys, and for all the subscriptions. And if you enjoy the channel, please, and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You guys will just get, it just gives you an update whenever we put a new video, and then you can check out the new videos if they look like they're interesting to you or not. If you like it, throw that thumbs up in there and let me know. Comments, we try to answer as many of them as we can, we read them all.
Oh yeah, a lot of people ask about these headsets. I do love this headset. I used to have ones like his, well, they weren't exactly the same, but they
had
were
the normal David Clark
yeah.
green ones.
Man, I did not like them. After like an hour of having something clamped down on my ears like that, it would just, I had to take them off and just like rub my ears, and it, I wasn't a big fan. But these things are awesome. They kind of like mold inside your ear and hear really well. I don't hear a lot of like background noise or anything like that. And they're super comfy. They just rest, like the back part goes around my head and rests on top of my ears, and I don't even feel it.
Yeah, those are Quiet Technologies QT Halos, or what those are called. I ordered them at Oshkosh. No affiliation with the company at all, other than my understanding is the guy is a pilot and he's an audiologist, an ear doctor, who's a pilot, and he created these headsets and he makes them all by hand. Doesn't farm them out, you know, overseas or anything like that. He makes them by hand, so sometimes it can take you a few months to get one, but everybody that said if they've ever had a problem, they send them to him, he fixes them for free, he sends them back. I mean, the guy was super nice. So at any rate, if you're into that kind of, you know, the in-the-ear headsets, check them out. For me, while we're talking about headsets, these are the LightSpeed Zulu 3s, and you guys will see, hopefully, if the footage turns out on the video before this, where I was out cloud surfing, the left side went dead, and it was terribly disorienting because they have the noise reduction on them. So it started going wah 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 in my head. It's hard to explain, and I couldn't hear, you know, the engine noise, and it just was an absolute pain. You don't want to be flying around like that. I do carry a backup headset in the back as well. But I called LightSpeed. I was well outside of my warranty by a bit, but they were super nice, super friendly people. Right away you're talking to somebody that's knowledgeable, who knew what was going on. I wish I could remember her name because I'd throw it out there right now. And she took care of me. I sent her the headsets. They refurbished them back to like new and shipped them back to me all at their cost. And they work fabulous. So again, no affiliation with LightSpeed, but for the over-the-ear headsets, I can't say enough about them. I feel like we could talk about a lot of other things, but it would be just too much for one video. There's so many things people want to know about. Last thing to talk about, some of the most common things. We do, okay, last couple things. We do have seatbelts on. We always wear seatbelts. They're lap belts. Back in the 70s when this plane was made, there wasn't a whole lot of thought about shoulder harnesses. If you remember even cars from back then, it was kind of an afterthought. So this plane came just like this. There are no shoulder harnesses in this airplane. You can't just put things in airplanes. The FAA has to approve it. It has to go through testing and all sorts of stuff. So there's only one company that I know of, and if you guys know of any other companies that have shoulder harnesses, let me know. But there's one company called BAS that has a shoulder harness system for the airplane. And it connects up top, and it's an inertial reel, and it then provides a 4-point harness. We plan to get that done this next annual inspection. It's not cheap. Just the seatbelt itself is $1,500 plus all the installation. Yeah. So if you guys know of another certified shoulder harness deal, let me know. But otherwise, so we always wear our lap belts. You guys just can't see them.
It will be done within the next 6 months.
Yeah, for sure. We know it's important, and you know, you just new airplane. You're constantly getting stuff and other things or whatever. It will happen. 2, the fuel gauges. right now they look so nice and steady, and they're very accurate right now. There's a little over, 45 gallons or so. Let's see how much we used. I have a supercomputer over here. So we have used about 10 gallons, a little under 10. So that is accurate. Right now they both indicate left and right has about 42 gallons or so. And that is accurate with what we got going on right now. That's the fuel in the tips. When that fuel starts sloshing around in the turbulence, right now everything is super smooth right now. So you can see the needles are really stable. Those things are not accurate. They're old float style. And then when you go to the aux tanks, it shows your fuel in your aux gauges, which there's 50 gallons in each main tank and 31.5 gallons in the aux tanks. When I'm on a certain tank, that's what shows here. It doesn't show total fuel, it just shows that tank. So before on an Oshkosh video, we were burning our aux tanks down low. The needles are all approaching zero. People are, were concerned that maybe we were doing something dangerous. At that time, we still had plenty of gas in the tip tanks, so which are the actual main tanks. So that's a point.
These fluctuating needles seem to drive people crazy, and they would drive me crazy too if we were actually just using that gauge to rely on but he uses the
Yeah, I have a fuel totalizer here, and it shows that since we've taken off, we had 163 gallons.
1 Bravo Charlie, contact Holman approach on 125.45.
What approach?
Holman.
2545, 1 Bravo Charlie.
Said Holman.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Holman approach, Twin Cessna 771 Bravo Charlie, VFR 7500.
Twin Cessna 771 Bravo Charlie, Holman approach, Holman altimeter 29908.
29908, thanks.
And he gave you his Barry Manilow
Yeah,
voice.
he did.
So it shows our fuel flow, which right now is about 13 gallons per hour, because I'm not really trying to extend beyond the fuel stop, and I'm trying to just cover some ground. So right now we've used 10.8 gallons exactly out of each side. And then we have 141.4 gallons remaining. And we have 5 hours and 24 minutes at this current power fuel flow, fuel being used setting. So we have multiple things and the old time thing. So we have multiple ways of judging our fuel run. So don't be concerned. I'm kind of a fuel wuss. So I never fly with less than an hour of gas. And then I still round up from there. So it's very rare, which an hour of gas to me is about 24.5, 25 gallons. I round up to 30. So you'll be hard pressed to ever see me flying in this airplane with less than 30 gallons of gas on board.
Next stop comment, the door.
Yeah, the door's kind of tricky.
No, I mean, everybody wants to know why I always leave it open.
Oh, yeah. Well, the door's open when it's hot, because when we're taxiing around, we open the window and the door, because there's no air conditioner in these planes. Temperature gets controlled by just airflow, which we can control the airflow, we can control the heat. You just can't control cold air. When you get up to altitude, like right now at altitude, it's 53 degrees is our current outside air temperature in Fahrenheit. But it's perfectly comfortable.
Bravo Charlie,
like
reset transponder squawk 6610, 6610.
6610, 1 Bravo Charlie.
But it's perfectly like 72 degrees in here, so.
I am not a pilot. I am never going to be a pilot. I have no interest in becoming a pilot. I don't particularly want to fly this plane, but we have talked about the safety feature of me being able to perhaps land this plane in an emergency, and there's been crash courses and a lot of that
25 Sierra Kilo, turn left heading 060.
I know about the pilots, I don't even remember what the class is called. I should probably do that, but no, I feel like we get asked this a lot. I'm definitely not a pilot. I just talk on the radio because I know how, because I'm a controller, and I help navigate a little bit, I guess, and that's about it.